So chapter 2 of our course is making the American welfare system more humane. What is case advocacy? It's for clients that need benefits that aren't available to them, they're denied access to them, or they just aren't using them. Policy advocacy is organized efforts to change policies in agencies and governments. Case advocacy and policy advocacy together. Case advocacy can lead to policy advocacy, and they are both closely linked to social welfare. People who are engaged in policy advocacy are elected officials, people in government agencies, non-for-profit agencies, leaders and staff of advocacy groups, and just the general public. First-order ethical principles are honesty, freedom, self-determination, confidentiality, due process, fairness, and social justice. Evaluating social policies through ethical reasoning, and this is the deontologist approach. Identify first-order principles that are relevant to an ethical dilemma and decide what action best satisfies them. And when first-order principles conflict, seek a compromise solution that satisfies both to a certain degree. The next slide will be evaluating social policies through ethical reasoning, and it's the utilitarian approach. Conduct research to identify the likely consequence of specific options or actions, and then select the options that maximize positive consequences for society for one or more of its subunits. And the next approach is the relativist approach. Analyze cultural factors that shape the ethical choices of people in specific historical periods, and analyze how the interests of people shape policy choices. Practical considerations. Consider the practical implications of specific policies, like political feasibility and cost. Factors affecting the American welfare state: cultural constraints, believing that social problems derive from defects of character rather than from environmental conditions, believing that specific problems can be solved with the use of panchadas, falsely believing that a generous welfare state is not needed, and viewing government and government institutions as being intrinsically flawed. Cultural opportunities. Sympathizing with people who are perceived to be victims of circumstances, favoring provision of policies and programs that enhance opportunities, resenting people and interests that unfairly victimize specific populations, believing that all who live among us should have their minimal survival needs met, and the creation of a liberal coalition in the 1930s. Other factors that affect the American welfare state are economic factors, social factors, institutional factors, legal factors, and political factors. And taking action. Determine when the people need case advocacy and referrals, link case and policy advocacy, identify and array people who engage in policy advocacy in prior eras, combine different approaches to ethical reasoning into an integrated approach, use ethical reasoning, and identify both constraining and facilitating contextual factors that have shaped the nature of the American welfare system.